everybody. We're here again. It's Atlanta Discuss. Yes, we're here every Friday, always discussing. Yes, that's why it's Atlanta Discuss. We've always said it. We have an opinion on most of the things we bring people here to discuss. At editorial level, most times we'll have discussed it. So my name still remains Adebalogun, your host and moderator. Some call me moderator, some call me uncle. Yes, it doesn't really matter. Right now, we have a bigger and wider spread in the world in most continents. Some very negligible number of people, but we have people listening, watching us from all the continents of the world, which is a fantastic thing. So Europe, thank you. Antarctica, which people we don't really have anybody in Antarctica, but it's part of the same continent. But Australia, thank you. North America, thank you. South America, Africa, thank you so much. Now, this is a continuation of the last episode we had. We're talking about constitutional democracy, presidential or parliamentary. We have our in-house consultant, Adejuwan Jore. Now, we also have one of our editorial members, another in-house consultant with us, live from Europe. She's been part of the government in the UK. She was a counselor, and she's still playing a very active role. We have Shiju Adeoye with us today. Shiju, welcome to Atlantic Discuss.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Shiju is not new. We all know she's not new. She's been here before, but now she's just joined our editorial team. She's part of our consulting team now. So we're really blessed to have her. I'm sure some of you already know where our tilt is on this topic, but she'll have to explain to us why she's picking that, because she's from the UK, she's been part of government in the United Kingdom. So she's probably going to swim parliament, but I want to know why, because our focal point remains Nigeria. So in our tradition, you go for the jugular and just shoot straight. But some of you don't know very well. So let me just introduce her. She was the founder of the Gilliam African Community Forum, that's GACOF. She's a member of the Can Sing CIC Advisory Committee. She was councillor for Chatham Central Ward, that's 2019 to 2023 in the UK, just recently, So Independent Monetary Board for the HMP Stamford Hill, that's 2012 to 2022, just recently too. Shiju has chaired the Independent Monetary Board for Her Majesty Prison Stamford Hill in 2018 and 2019. So for prison reforms in the country like Nigeria and Africa, she's a go-to person. Shiju has also chaired the Independent Monitoring Board for Her Majesty Prison, the one I just said, yes, right now. A statutory role by the Ministry of Justice where fairness is ensured for people in custody through active listening, investigating complaint, and advocating for human rights resolution. Shiju has also been a speaker and campaigner for Aegis Trust and volunteer advocate, yes, for associate in UK on genocide, mass atrocity, and UN resolution. Wow, this is awesome. She's the UK coordinator for Bible Heaven International, a non-governmental organization addressing women's maternal health. So you have quite a widespread in a lot of endeavors. Shiju has led local and national campaign issues featured on KMTV, BBC Radio Kent, BBC Southeast. Some of Shiju's advocacy involves road safety, flight tipping, drugs, gang, vulnerability intervention for young people, children's services, refugee, Black Lives Matter, educational and criminal justice system, and research on impact of COVID-19 on the BAME communities. Shiju works in the community, was recognized in 2019 by an invitation to the Queen's Garden Party by the Lord Lieutenant County of Kent. That's the Viscount, the Lislow CVO MBE, also representing Nigeria during the reading of the Commonwealth Charter at the Lord Lieutenant Civic Center for Kent. Shiju is mother of two lovely things. Fantastic, impressive. Okay, we have you today. So we've read it all out. Clearly, you stay stereotyped. You jump all the hurdles, and I'm sure that having achieved all this is not a walk in the park. Being in elective office, sharing this, sharing that. So clearly, you have a concise knowledge of what the system of government in the country you're domiciled in. But here we focus more on Africa, development of Africa, and we have chose to lay more emphasis on Nigeria because Nigeria is the largest concentration of Black people on the planet. So we cannot ignore Nigeria. So here we embrace humanity to disseminate positive news in a world filled with a lot of bad news. So let's shoot straight. From where you sit, do you think democracy is working in Africa? Do you think? Because President Obasanjo, former president, said that we should try and evolve a new system of democracy. He's saying that what we have now doesn't work for Africa. He said we should have democracy, but it should be something that applies to us in Africa. What do you think?
I think to a certain extent, it's starting to work. It's not quite where it should be. There are still I believe there are teething periods that we are yet to overcome, particularly in Nigeria. And I'm pretty sure Nigeria being the giant of Africa, once Nigeria can actually get it right, every other country will follow suit. So I think we're getting there surely, but we're not quite there yet. And I just believe that once people start to understand that democracy is for real and is here to stay, and people are not going to be buying, or their votes are not going to be bought, they're more likely, we're more likely to experience democracy.
Okay, so you said Nigeria is the giant of Africa. I was listening to some guy in Botswana recently, and he said something I always say, but in the opposite way. I always say, yes, one out of every four sub-Saharan African is a Nigerian. One out of every these black people in the world is a Nigerian. So the guy said, okay, when Nigerians say all this, we're the most populated, does it translate to any economic terms? Because recently we have seen that Nigeria used to be the largest economy in Africa. Now we're the fourth largest economy in Africa. We're really, really, really dropping. Now, you mentioned the fact that if our vote count, the last election was abysmally poor, in management, in everything. So there's really no sign that things are going to change. Economically, we're really going down, So that's why I said, you're saying if Nigeria works, Africa works. Nigeria is not working. That's what I'm trying to say. So where do you see the hope, the likelihood that Nigeria will work?
Have faith. Have some faith. I think Nigeria is working. I think we've come a mighty long way, and I know we're not quite there. And I know a lot of people, from my last interview back in February, a lot of people went for Nigeria is not working. Take the voting system, for instance, that was just recently concluded, and the rest of it. And I said something, we're dealing with the mass numbers that we're dealing with. How many are we? I think we get it to almost 3 billion, are we not, forecasted to be in population. I haven't got the recent figures with me, but I know that with that mass population, it's quite difficult, to try and put technology in place that will actually cope, without having it tested first before it actually went live. So this is where I had the problem that, okay, it could have been tested before we actually went live, but we didn't have any time. Everything, as usual, is impulse and knee-jerk reaction to what's happening in Nigeria. But I think once we can get to the point where, we are putting in technology in place and testing it, I think it can work. And the failure, or so to speak, of the last election that didn't quite work out, I think that has a lot to do with technology rather than it's to do with the voting, the democratic system itself. So I'm still optimistic when it comes to Nigeria. And I believe that, Nigeria will come away from what is being known negatively for, and we will get to that point where it will be of positive. And we're speaking of the economy. I know the economy is going down, if we take a look at the exchange rate, for instance, the exchange rate is very poor, although it's good for us in the West, where we have to change money, and you're looking at almost, 1 pound to 2,000 naira. It's fantastic for me to send money home, but then for the people back home, they are crying that, and it makes, inflation very high. Things are very expensive. People can't afford it. And they're thinking, we elected the new government. We should see a difference, but I have been monitoring the exchange rate, for instance. There are seasons when it's very low, and then it will shoot back up. But then that's all to do with the market, what's happening in the marketplace at the moment. So I think it is treacherous, it is volatile, but I think once things can get in place, things can be in post, we will begin to see that change trickle in little by little.
Okay. Nigeria is 200 million people. India is 1.2 billion people.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Now,
Okay.
yeah, no. I mean, I'm going somewhere. Now, in India,
Okay.
they organize election. A lot of Indians come out and vote. You know, a lot. I'm talking maybe four
Mhm.
times, five times the number of Nigerians. So, because you said it's the number of people and all that, blah blah, yada yada yada, and all
Actually,
that.
I
Yeah.
disagree with you.
India is doing it. Yeah. India is doing it, and
I
we get
disagree.
the result of
I
the India
disagree.
election 24 hours after the vote. Why is this so hard for us? The election you're talking about, we expended almost 300 billion on that
I
election
disagree with
for
you. I
on
think that
technology,
is.
and the technology did not work. And nobody's been arrested for it. I mean, come on. Come on.
Okay.
Anyway,
I completely disagree with you there.
okay,
That's
go
not a
ahead.
fair
Why do you disagree? It's a discussion.
that is not a fair comparison to make, to be honest.
India is third world now. Commonwealth country, multi-ethnic,
Yeah, if
multi-diverse.
you want to
5 years
treat on
ago,
the third
malaria
world
was killing
country
people in
grounds, yeah,
India. I mean,
multi, yes. Well, where I would disagree with you is on the fact of technology, because we're talking about the tech capital of the world. India is, what is Nigeria? So they have been studying, doing the research, so you're
no, but
talking
my
about
point
tech
is,
capital.
no, I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry I have to interject you. My point is, we expended money.
Yeah.
On paper, about 300 billion was voted for that election. We got money from the European Union, we got money from the Americans, we got money from everywhere. You understand? So my issue is that if we get money from everywhere and we expended money on technology, and you're telling us the technology did not work. You understand? Is it what we purchased that was bad or we were sabotaged? The money has to be accounted for. It's a democracy, it's people's money. You understand? So what I'm saying is that directly we can purchase it. We don't invent most of this thing, but we purchase the good. And we're told that more than 50% of that budget will be
Mhm.
spent on technology for the election. You understand? So, I mean, it didn't work. So, did the money serve its purpose? And it's government money. So, if you spend government money to achieve a purpose that they didn't achieve, shouldn't there be accountability at some level?
Okay.
That's my
I,
point,
I
you know?
get that angle.
Mm,
I get that point. It's not money well
mm,
spent, because you
mm.
know, with that amount of money that was spent, yes, honorable gentleman, I can accept your argument on that part. But I'm talking about in terms of the inner workings of the technology itself.
Mm,
We're talking about the tech capital of the world. They are very
mm.
fast in this. They will have tested this. They will have run this. They will have known where the gaps are, what needs to work and what's
Okay,
not
I'm
working.
pushing
And
you
we
now.
didn't
I'm
have that
pushing you to
opportunity.
Senegal. I'm pushing you to Senegal. They had an
All right.
election in Senegal some weeks back. The election we saw, everybody knew the result about 24
Mhm.
hours later. In 48 hours, people were congratulating themselves. The transition was smooth. You understand? Nobody's contesting it. I mean, it's Senegal more advanced than Nigeria technologically. I'm asking, I don't know. Anyway, let's go to the nitty-gritty of why we're here,
I'll let you
Constitutional
have that.
democracy.
My honorable
It's
gentleman.
all right.
I'll let you have
It's
that.
a discussion. You're part of our team, so we disagree on something, but it's okay. Now, constitutional democracy, presidential or parliamentary system. Right now, we operate a federal system of government. Does the federal system need modification or an outright change of system? What do you think?
Um, Well, it's been 60 odd years, 6 decades, and more, that we've had this system, so to speak, in place. Clearly, something is not working. Whether or not this is the right time to change is subject for debate, which is what we are trying to debate here right now, whether or not is it time for change. My worry is, and I think I alluded to this at our last interview, that my worry is that once you change the system, the current system, it opens door. It opens the back door to what is already being agitated for, which is the ethnic divide, which is my concern and worry, that would we still have the one Nigeria coming out of this change? That's my worry. I mean, with every change, we have to mitigate what are the risks, and whether or not are we going to be better off or are we going to be worse off? That's my only concern. If things were, you know, stable in terms of, there aren't any agitation going on at the moment, yes, I would have probably said yes, let's go for it. But because of all the agitation, people want to take their part and break away from the country as it is. That's my worry there, that it may not be the right time. It may not be the right time, but then when is the right time is another question. Maybe we need to, and then whatever damn the consequences, we live with the consequences, and we take on, everybody, to their tent, take what you need to take in, do that. But in the long run, would that be beneficial, to the future, of the people of Nigeria? Would it be called Nigeria? That's the question. That's my worry. That's my concern.
Okay, so you understand how the British system works. Britain colonized Nigeria. Do you think, are you, I'm asking you a direct question now, are you satisfied with the way the British left Nigeria in 1960? Do you think it could have been better managed? Because if you look at India, my focal point is usually on India, and the reasons are not far-fetched: multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multi-diversity, and all that. Colonized by UK like us, Commonwealth country, a lot in common. Pakistan came out of India, subsequently Bangladesh, So, and even if you look at the Commonwealth of Nations, you have countries like Malay, which are breaking into Singapore and Malaysia, Sudan now, North and South. So you're saying that, okay, there's a possibility because of agitation that people could go their way. But my main question is, do you think the British left us in a good place at independence?
I think with all best intention, I think they did, I think we were probably ill prepared, to carry the baton. I think is probably what I would say. And because A, we were ill prepared. Secondly, we saw it as an opportunity. Yes, in some ways we're taking ownership. Yes, in some ways, it's our time to, own what is ours. And I'm all for that. But whether or not we were prepared for that was another matter. And whether or not the people who came into power at the time, whether or not, they had the genuine altruistic motives, to lead the country. And we've seen that over the years or decades, different kind of motives has come forward and has left the country in the state that it has been left in. So it's a matter of, the motive at the end of the day, were the motive right for the people who took helm of government, and were they prepared enough to know, how to govern? Well, should we be taught how to govern ourselves? Maybe yes or no. But there was a system that was working, that was put in, that supposedly we were supposed to model after. Whether or not we take it or leave it is another matter. But I would have been of the opinion, if I was around at that time, that the model could have been taken. We could have reinvented, ourselves. It's like any work, for instance. We all are inspired by different artists, particularly if you're creative. For instance, you don't make that artist your work. Yes, you can be inspired by the work, but what you tend to do is to try and make what the inspiration you got out of that artist, make it your own. And that was probably more or less what I would have expected from those that took the helm of government at the time. But there comes the motive part that I was alluding to, that, it could have been, I think the motive would have disrupted, things at that time where people just want things for themselves. They want things for their family. I think you were sharing something on the WhatsApp group earlier on today, how people constantly, the salaries, not just the salaries, the perks of being in government and how they have served themselves, goes back to motive. If we're still doing this, it's not right. At the end of the day, people are still after the so-called national cake. And when are we going to make that national cake the cake of the people, where the people themselves who put you in government actually have not just crumbs, but a huge chunk, across. How is that cake going to be divided amongst the population? That's my question. Or my
Okay, yeah, okay, I understand that. But what I'm saying now is this. Are you one of the people that think that if the military did not strike, say, in 1966, January 66, we would never had a military coup? And we are, practicing that parliamentary system of government, Western region, Northern region, Eastern region. Do you think we will be better off today? We will have made progress, we will have overcome all our problems, and Nigeria will be in a good place now.
Again, it goes back to the heart of the people at the time. And we have, so to speak, passed on that heart from one generation to the other. It goes back to serving, whilst you're trying to serve yourself and own something, are you actually owning it for the mass population, or are you just owning it for just yourself? Are you inward or are you outward? And I think that's where the issue is for me, and will continue to be the issue for me, that we still have a nation that is not altruistic. That's the problem. When you are called to elected position, you're called to service. You're coming to serve your people. People still see it as, they come into lord over people. So it's about the paradigm, what people, people that come into elected offices, what their paradigm shift has always been and continue to be. Until that change, we won't see the Nigeria that we hope for. I hope one day, and I think they are coming. There are few, generation, the millennium most especially, who actually, I love the agitation, because they actually agitated for, a betterment of the country, but again, they're still not doing the necessary work for them to be where Nigeria is supposed to be. Now, everybody's gone quiet. There's no election. Everybody's gone quiet. Where are all the campaigners? Where are all the activists? Activism, campaigning is not just election time. That's the problem I have with the youngsters, the millennials, the Gen Z that actually want to now come into power, that they think that they can make a change. It's like one shot, one hit wonder. They come out when it's election and then they disappeared. It doesn't work like that. You have to be constantly be in people's faces,
Hey, hey,
the cause, championing the cause, and building that track record, building your political capital as well as your social capital, and for people to know that, what, we're here to stay and we're here to make that change. But don't get frustrated.
Mm. Let me brief for the people they call the obedience. I'm sure you heard about people they call obedience, right? Yeah. They are very active. I can say that they are active on Twitter or social media. They are agitated. As a matter of fact, they are just about the only opposition we have in Nigeria today.
I must give it to Peter Obi. He's not disappeared.
He's also, that's the second thing I was going to say. He's not
I want to
sitting
say
there
that.
going
I must
around.
give
He
it
was in
to
Kano
him,
yesterday.
But we just need that consistency. If he really means it and he's serious about what, being in power, you cannot disappear. And so he's doing his bit to stay, to make his presence is still known and still being felt. But I think more could be done, other than, just the photo opportunities.
Fantastic. Well, I don't agree with you on that. I think Obi is doing a very good thing. I seriously think so. I think it's probably the best thing that happened to Nigeria in a very long time. I think it's consistent in trait, character, and most of the things the same. I've never met him.
More. We need more of that energy. We need more of that.
Yeah, it's got it. The obedience they are doing a yeoman's job. And if there's any scintilla of hope for Nigeria, I think it's from those young obedient people that are being consistent. Yeah, and I think that's what gives me hope. I'm not just saying it from a narrow-minded space or from one opinionated point of view. I think it's glaring that Nigeria is battered almost beyond repairs, but the future will be
If
in
I, if
the
I, if I
youth.
may, if I may come in there, if I may come in
Please go
there,
ahead.
is
Please go ahead.
what I would love to see is going beyond campaigning, going beyond activism, and
Mm,
actually building structures in political system and building that political capital to say that, you know
mm,
what, any day we
mm,
are ready for power. I am not
mm.
seeing that. That's where I have the issue. I'm seeing the
All right.
activism, don't get me wrong,
Mm,
and not every activist will make a politician,
mm,
but every
mm.
politician
Well,
must be an activist. My summit.
okay. Well, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. I always quote the United Nations Human Rights Charter. The United Nations Human Rights says there's freedom of speech, there's freedom of association. In fact, there's freedom of disassociation. That's what a charter discussion is always a discussion. Now, that Peter Obi, like I said, I've never met him, but I listen to everything he said. And this guy said, I'm quoting him now, I mean, paraphrasing, said, if he had ever stolen government money at any level in his life,
Mhm.
anybody that has evidence should come out. In a corrupt Nigeria, nobody, and I repeat, nobody has come out to say this is the evidence. I think that's a lot. That's a lot.
Mhm.
That's something almost no Nigerian can say. And this
Mhm.
guy is saying it. The two governors behind him, even the one that succeeded him,
Mhm.
Willie Obiano, they fell out eventually. You understand? If there was anything,
Mhm.
Obiano will have exposed him. And if anything, well, no, Soludo, so I think we have to give to Peter what is due to Peter. You understand? Considering what we're going to, we might not get because of
I
Peter.
remain his number one critique.
It's okay. It's okay. That's why it's a discussion. I mean, you're eminently
Only
entitled to
because I just want to see more,
it.
more coming out of him. I just want to see that energy and,
Mm.
uh, you
There's
know,
there's actually there's actually nobody today in Nigerian political space that is showing as much energy as Peter Obi. And that's just the truth. It has nothing to
I need
do
to feel the
with
way
whether
here in the
one
United
gets.
Kingdom.
Mm.
Thank you.
Anyway, so what will you recommend? What system of government do you think we should go for right now, in your opinion? Because right now we know the presidential system is a bit on the expensive side, really.
If
I doesn't seem to.
all being okay, if all being equal, if
Mm.
like if we have the best political atmosphere right now, I would go for parliamentary system
Why
simply
am I not
because
surprised? Why am I not
because it's
surprised?
been
All
tried,
right, go
it's
ahead.
tried and tested, it works. And although some people argue that it doesn't work, some people
Mm,
actually want to abolish, parts of
mm,
the believe it or not, there are people agitating here in the United Kingdom that would love to have it abolished. The parliamentary
mm,
system where we have the House of Lords, they will want to scrap that, because they
mm,
believe that these are unelected members of House of Lords and they get to decide what the law should be in the country. So there are, people that are agitating for that to be scrapped. So, in every country, with best efforts of, political system, there are still people that are going to be dissatisfied, with the way things work. But I still think, parliamentary would be a good way because why? You are, elected by members of your community to represent them in parliament to actually make these laws, and not just to make these laws, to be held accountable. You are held to account. For instance, on a Wednesday, you have the PMQ, Prime Minister's question. The Prime Minister is held accountable on the dispatch box. What is he doing with the country? He has to come and defend his policies. You have the opposition party that will scrutinize, what is the prime minister doing? And the prime minister will come out and say that, well, we've been able to do A, B, C, D. This is what's been working. And this is the change that we've been able to make in the first quarter, the second quarter, and able to tell the people what's working, where we still need to go, and set the vision for the country. We do not have that. I would love to see that happening. in Nigeria, for instance, there has never been a time where any president of a country comes to be scrutinized or comes to defend, his policies, or to tell us what's working, what's not working, and what him and his team or cabinet are going to do differently or going to do better to have a better country. That doesn't happen. So that's why I will favor parliamentary over presidential at the end of the day. But of course, Nigerians love presidential, because it's power, and you don't want to give people the power. You want to hold on to the power yourself, which is not quite, although it doesn't work like that in America, well, to a certain extent, but whatever America's got is working for them. I mean, you can testify to that. That system better than I do because you are based in the US. But solely in the UK, you are held accountable. You cannot escape it. If not, the members of your party can actually tell you that, what, we can put in vote of no confidence in you. You're not doing a good job, and if you stood the test of time, stood the test of leadership, you can be voted out or you can stay. Well, that is the power, that is given back to the people, and the people really should be the ones to decide how country is run and how effective, the policies that are put in place, how effective they're working.
So you think the parliamentary system brings the leader closer to the people?
Absolutely, it does. Because if you cannot defend yourself, if you can't, you will be voted out. You will not be elected.
I agree. I agree. I think that lack of accountability is one of the things that's lacking today. Yeah. But let me put it to you this way. There's also an abdication from the office of the citizens, office of citizens, so to say, irrespective of whether it's parliamentary or presidential, the office of citizen is almost non-existent in Nigeria. I mean, we could look at it from different angles that today the poverty has been weaponized. Probably that's a reason. I mean, people are forlorn, they've lost hope, they make do with whatever comes their way. There's also another school of thought that is turn by turn Nigeria Limited, that even the poor man has hope that one day it will be my turn, because they've seen an example of Joshua becomes chairman of local government. Then everybody has one uncle or auntie that is in line to do something.
Inherited post.
My turn to chop, because it's just look at everybody, it's just about chopping, that I mean it's chopping an English word, but yeah, but in Nigeria, just chop. It's my turn to chop, and there's almost nothing to even chop again, It's like
no, because they've left it to skeletons, there's nothing left. They left it to bones, which is rather sad, sad state of the country. I think I was watching one of your interviews that you did during the week, and that was powerful, about the state of affairs. And it just saddens that, when is Nigeria going to actually get out of this rot, but we have to keep agitating, for better Nigeria.
Well, I respect that. It's unfortunate. So I know you're going to go for parliamentary, which you clearly have. I mean, you have practiced it, you've worked with it. And now, before I go to my next question, apart from what you've said, that it brings the leadership closer to the people, do you have any other reasons why you support the parliamentary system ahead of the presidential system? Because like President Obasanjo just said, that we should look for a system that works for us. So where I'm really going is that, is there any way we can reconcile the two, pick a little bit from the presidential system, pick this from because, I mean, we won't have House of Lords in Nigeria. There's no doubt about that. That probably would never happen. You understand?
You can put your chiefs. All the chiefs can be in the House of Lords.
Those people, they're part of our problems. The traditional institutions.
I was going to say, put the chiefs, put the religious leaders, because that's what we have in the UK. Is the bishops.
And we pay them, right? Do they pay them in the UK?
Yeah, they pay them. Wow. They pay the bishops, in the UK. So there are 26 bishops that sits in the House of Lords.
Just 26. So I think it's
Yes.
not much. We have a lot in Nigeria.
So but imagine this, the religious leaders and the chiefs
No.
combined, in the House of Lords in Nigeria, that would be some interesting dynamic. I say no
Mm.
more.
So, but my question is, do you think there are things we can pick from the presidential and some from the parliamentary and match together that would be an holistic Nigerian type of democracy or African type of democracy? You know?
Well, it probably it's like, the saying that, can you put new wine in old wine skin? What will happen? It will burst. It cannot work, I feel. I think not until we have a new generation of leaders in power, then you can say you can put those types of system in place, because those people are right. I will assume that they are right. They would have, underscore what these systems are about and how it's going to work for them. But I will still favor implementing parliamentary into Nigerian system, because that was what was the original plan or the agenda, right? Back in the days. While we came away from that, I still can't understand or fathom why we came away from that. But it will certainly work, because if you look at the way parliamentary work here in the United Kingdom, before a policy or law is passed, it's first debated, amongst the members of the parliament, the members of the House. They would debate it. Yes, you can argue that happens in the House of Senate, but it's not quite the same. Every elected official will come to the House, debate robustly about how, if this is going to work or if that is not going to work, and then they will take a vote on it. The years will have either the yes have it, or or the no's have it, or if people are abstain for it, but at least you have a robust debate of whether or not this particular law will work for the people. And when you are coming into debate, you are debating on the behalf of your community that you are representing. Don't forget that you are actually there because the heartbeat, the pulse rate of your community. That's if you're working in your community, that is, back in Nigeria. Are you in touch with the community?
But I have to interject a bit. Now, we have what you call a is it the dual camera or unicameral? What type of democracy is going over my head now? We have the upper house and the lower house. I mean, we have the Senate and we have the House of Reps, right? So two houses. Now in the Senate, we have 109 senators. That is, there are 3 senators from each state. That's 3 times 36 plus 1 representing Abuja. So that's a lot of representation. Now we have about 369 members of House of Reps. Federal constituencies scattered all over Nigeria based on the population and all that. Kano having so many, Lagos too, and all that. Rivers and what have you. So those people are supposed to discuss too, the way the constitution is structured. But I don't think it's the constitution per se that's a problem. I think it's how we practice and apply. Then you have 774 local governments, all the local government have councillors. They also have a sort of parliament.
You and I know that all this post is for Oye, it's just
it's job for the boys. Also, don't forget, we have 36 states, 36 governors, 36 deputy governors, 36 secretaries to state government. Then we have 36 speakers, 36 executive speakers. Every state in Nigeria has a state house of assembly who also have roles to play. So if, for example, those people are not allowed, you said it's just for the boys, which I think we would agree on. In the parliamentary system, won't the same suffice? Won't the same still happen? Because it does look like the way we do things in our own climate, nothing really works. Things that are just walk in the park in other climes, it might not work there.
That's why I said if you try and put new wine in old wineskin, it will not work with the set of people, unless there are new generation transformational.
Where are the new generations? Where are they? Where they are? There are a lot in Canada, US,
Well, you
America.
talked about the obedience, for instance. You talked about
Yeah, I like that.
of
That's true.
citizens. This is why I'm saying that, it shouldn't stop there at campaigning. They should actually build
Mm,
the political capital to
mm,
build a system and structure that will actually work. This is what I'm
work, yeah.
expecting, and this is what I
Hmm.
want to see rather than the noise making. Do you see what I'm saying? I actually want to see
Yeah, I
an
agree with you.
effective, other than making noise, agitating on
Mm,
social media. It's beyond social media. It's getting to your community, finding out what's going on in your community. How can you
I
make your
agree.
community better?
Mhm.
Do you
I
know the
agree with
heartbeat
you.
of your
1,000,000%.
community? Do you know the pulse
Mm,
of your community? Are you the
mhm,
ears and the eyes of your community? That's what I expect. That proper
mm.
structure in place, and then start building those political capitals. And hopefully they can actually have their own, party. So we shouldn't even just have obedient as that one party running for election. We
Mm.
need to see more political parties other than obedient party, a Labour Party, that is. We
Mm.
need to see more of that, so not just one, because if it's just the one, you know what's going to happen, we all get sentimental. Probably there will hardly be any change. But if we see various types of political party, serious, really, really structured, really, really wanted this power, I think Nigeria will be transformed.
Fantastic. So, what I want to say right now is this. You've made your points, fantastic points and all that. Now, but the core issue here is this. Our
Mhm.
elections are not free and fair. I can't remember the last time we had a free and fair election. So if, for example, by 2027, we have this well-lubricated structure, 1, 2, 3, 4, groups
Like
like
good
that.
technology, maybe borrow from India.
Yeah, I mean, we've been borrowing. A quick digression. We all know the story of how Malaysia came here in 1962 to take our blueprint on oil palm and all that. Today, I think Malaysia is the largest exporter of oil palm, and almost every 2 years or so, we send a delegation there to understand what we taught them. And I heard they're
Exactly.
not even receiving any delegation again. That all the things they gave. So we have been understanding. Nigeria is not short of policy blueprint and what have you. The problem
At
is
all.
corruption, implementation, and failure of leadership.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's actually not just an abdication from the citizenship themselves. Our
Mm.
intelligentsia are nowhere to be found, even in the diaspora. I'm telling you, this is what I've seen one of personally. So it's like there's a lot of vacuum to be filled. Nature itself abhors vacuum, but nobody, honestly, is saying the right things or doing the right thing. That's why people are tilted towards Peter Obi. He is saying the right things.
Yeah.
He might not have had the
Yes.
opportunity to do it, but
To
his
do
track
it.
record
Yeah.
shows at
Yeah.
least. Now, I do think amongst the last presidential aspirant, I'm more tilted towards Peter Obi. And my reason is just just one reason.
Tell me.
I'm
Tell me.
looking for someone that will cut the cost of governance. I think the cost of governance is too expensive. We're spending too much. I mean, imagine having a supplementary budget and you're budgeting 2.5 billion for cars for first lady, a purely non-constitutional rule. I think it's just irresponsible. I mean, I'm telling you,
Yeah. I
when
agree.
we
Yeah.
are, look, you said something about in the parliamentary system of government, you have to discuss issues, debate issues, and all that. They just
Even your
signed a 15 trillion
expenses.
contract, yeah, for
Your
some
expenses, you
Calabar
have
road.
to justify. You have to justify your expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was in ordinary local government, my allowance has to be justified. My expenses has to be justified. And it has to be published publicly for the whole world to see that, okay, this is
But
much.
just imagine that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
and
we just gave out a contract for 15 trillion for Lagos Calabar
what
Coastal Road. No
what for?
tender, no nothing. We don't even have environmental impact assessment. I have the Lagos East-West Road, the East-West Road, sorry, uncompleted, the East-West rail line uncompleted. So
Mhm.
I think it's just us. I might not be fair saying this, but I do think we're inherently dishonest to a very large extent. I think the religious leaders, the political leaders,
Mhm.
the traditional institution have all betrayed the country. And that's my personal
Yeah,
opinion. I've
I
said it
agree with you.
before. And yeah, we've discussed it too. And they just have
Mhm.
to stop speaking from both sides of their mouths. We cannot go on like this. And it's looking very irresponsible, the only oil producing country without a functional refinery. Now they're waiting for Dangote to build them out when we have 4 refineries and that they've been expending some humongous amount of money year in, year out. And nobody is being punished for anything. So anyway, I appreciate you for your time always, but before you go, I have to just ask you this. How do you rate the current government? It's going to be a year they've been there, a lot of hues and cries, there's poverty in the land, blah, 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 yada, yada, all these things. So I don't want to put the words into your mouth. So let me hear from you. How do you rate them thus far? I know you are
You know,
very objective, so let's
on a scale of 1 to 10, or just qualitative or quantitatively?
your parameter yardstick will be okay for us. You decide on that.
Um, to be honest, they won't get 5 out of 10. It's below 5. But the specific number, I will reserve that for obvious reasons. Having said that, whether a government is going to do well or not, some will argue you will see that in the first 100 days. And
I agree with you.
you will see it in the first 100 days. And we definitely didn't see that in the first 100 days. So we can argue that, but then it's a legacy. There are legacy issues that needs to be tackled. So I want to be fair in terms of putting the legacy issue in context, let's be fair, let's factor all those factors into it, that rather than 100 days, it should be a year, but then a year has passed. We still haven't seen anything tangibly enough to say that, there's a major change, although some will argue that, certain things are put in place, but not enough for a country, a federal level country. And all I've been hearing is houses being knocked down for no apparent reasons, because it breached planning rules and planning. People are being displaced, people are being made homeless. That saddens me that in the first place, who are the people who authorize, who are the urban planners? Who are the people that actually authorize, those buildings to be erected in the first place? That they said is coming, it's interfering with drainage, it's interfering with waterways, it's interfering with this and that, but greedily, those planning were approved and they were given, residents to go ahead and build their homes, and only for those homes to be displaced, and of the people to be displaced. I'm not totally happy about that. I think, again, it's a mark of government. Government has to do better. If people have to build their homes and suddenly, you have to tear everything, drive in, bulldoze into the community and just, put a wedge in the community, I don't think that's good enough. Yes, you may justify the reasons for it, that, there are harms, it's in harm's way, etc. But it's failure of government, and, they need to point the finger back at themselves that, what, you didn't do it right in the first place, and the people are paying the consequences for that. And are they being compensated? Because if something like that was to happen at this side of the world, even if they have to do that, the people will be compensated. Are they being compensated? I guess the answer is no. So when you see things like that, it saddens me that things are still not working. Things are still failing, even at, whether you want to look at it at macro, micro level, things are failing at every level. And, we've got to do better. We've got to do better. Not just Nigeria has to do better, even international communities as well have to come in. People in the diaspora have to come in to actually support this change and not just leave it, because it looks like I don't want to use the word hopeless, but it looks like yes, while you're for ownership, and taking ownership, you need that support, to get off the ground, from crawling to walking, and from walking to running. And I want to see Nigeria run, at some point, not far away, but in the near future, as in, in the next 10 years, see difference.
Are you disappointed in the Bola Tinubu presidency?
Not quite. Ask me that for at the end of his term.
Yeah, but I
I'm
mean,
still
thus far, one year that you just said that the money tells the day. You didn't put it like that, but you said in the first 100 days, that government that will succeed, you see traction. So I'm saying in
yes.
1 year, thus far, what you see,
No,
what
I,
we
wo- I
know,
won't. I won't quite put it. There are failures. There are disappointments. Don't get me wrong. But then
mm,
I wanted to put it in context, and that's why I
context.
said
Yeah.
there are legacy issues that we've got to
Mm.
factor in. That
That's going
if
to
you
be my follow-up questions. I can follow-up question rather. So, when you say legacy issues, what do you mean by legacy issues? I mean, privilege of those that are watching, and what are the legacy issues,
the
and what
legacy
make them
issues
odors?
that is harder to the people
I
don't
mean,
want the people should
what make them
I
legacy?
don't want. They will say it's okay for you. You are in UK pointing the finger, criticizing, well, the problem that you face in your country, and what could be done better, and where you could be, put it that way, and how you have gotten to where you've gotten to. That's what I mean by legacy. That, it's historical issues that have been coming from one decade to the other. You know what they are, those experiences.
Tell us
You
one
have
now. Tell us one.
you
Tell us
have
one.
that. They will say that I'm from UK. I have everything is roses for me. It's easy to say. I mean, there's things like,
It's not rosy
why
in the
why is
UK.
it that
It's not
Nigeria
rosy in
doesn't have
America.
constant
You have to
light?
work for your money. Yeah. Hmm.
Why
You
is
have to
it? Why
work.
is it that? Why is it that there are? There's. I mean, look at us having a good conversation here. The light is on. Why is it that
Mm,
light is a problem? Why is it
mm,
that households are still using generators? Who
mm,
does that? Although we are
mm,
seeing change, let's give
mm,
credit to where credit is due. People are starting to take the opportunity of solar energy, which is fantastic, which is fabulous. So I hope that
mm,
continues. That do we have we have to look at more greener and
mm.
sustainable way of having that for our energy, use. So, which is fantastic. So, kudos to that. Let's give credit to that there are greener ways, and people are taking a greener route, but we still have a long way to go. But I still think that, those legacy issues are factors to why things are still where things are. But give them time. We'll have another interview, I hope, come the end of term, and then I will give you my critical opinion, and no holds bar, and no biases. I'll give you my honest opinion.
That's why it's Atlanta discuss. We go for the jugular always. No holds barred with that. So where do you see Nigeria in 15 years with the way things are going?
I'm
Where do you see
positive.
us? Mm,
I'm positive. I'm positive. I don't think Tinubu will be the one to take us to where we need to be.
mm,
With all due respect, I don't
mm,
think he will be the person to take us there. Um, I don't even think, I doubt it if he would get 2 terms. That's just my honest opinion. I just think that the young ones, the youngsters, just gotta get in there, not just talking, not just making noise, but actually, honestly, building their political capital, and their social capital, putting structures in place, forming parties. I just don't want to see one particular party that is the flagship of the country. I want to see several, replicated political parties that are serious, with serious political structures that actually can take the hem of the garment, and not just that. And I dare, if I can say this, I dare to say this, to even see the youngsters in those ruling parties. That's what I would love to see. I want to see those youngsters in APC. I want to see those youngsters in PDP. What's stopping them from being in those parties? You know, and that's how they really make the change.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think you should get in touch with Professor Tony. He's launching something called the New Tribe, yeah? New Tribe of
Yeah.
Nigerians, tribal
Amazing.
affinity. They make judgment based on merit and all that. I think you'll be a good fit for what they're trying to do. So it's a wrap there. This is Sijo Adeoye, fantastic, erudite scholar, says it the way it is, no holes there. So thank you, listeners. See you next week Friday for something that will also fascinate you always. Thank you, Shiju, once again. Thanks for all you do.
So
Bye.
much fun. It's a pleasure to be here.